This teleprompter is good, but it's just a bit too slow, yeah? Hello everyone, this is Jen and I make useful English Lit study videos on Shakespeare, poetry, fiction, literary devices and more to help you become a literary expert. So in today's video, we are reading Shakespeare Sonnet 116, which starts with the line, "Let me not to the marriage of true minds." So if we take the poem at face value, the message of this poem isn't too ambiguous. The speaker asserts that true love is unchanging and everlasting, immune to external forces like the passing of time or the influence of temptation. Now, personally, I find this message a bit idealistic, almost a bit too idealistic for anything Shakespeare. And if Shakespeare really believed in this, then maybe modern day divorce rates will have him turning in his grave. But because you're reading poetry with Jen, you know that we're never here to settle for any obvious surface level interpretations. So in the rest of this video, I'm going to suggest a slightly different take on the sonnet by examining various points of tension between form and content. And if you've watched my other poetry videos, you know that one of the key strategies that I'm always championing for close reading poetry, analysing poetry, is to look for tension between form and content. Tension, contradiction, conflict, irony between form and content, i.e., is what is being said presented in a way that suggests otherwise? Because if so, then there you go. You have tension, and it is in that tension that we're often able to extrapolate really interesting insights. Now, the key idea in this sonnet is unchanging stability. Then its visual shape, you'll notice, somewhat contradicts it. Interestingly, while the iambic pentameter remains largely stable throughout the poem, the lines show up in varied lengths, creating a wavy, wandering, to use a word in the poem itself, outline that juts and indents from line to alternate line. Now, this visual variation is most prominent in the second quatrain, from lines 5 to 8, which ironically contains the notion of love being an ever-fixed mark and is never shaken, despite the structural shakenness that we can see here. This contrast between visual irregularity and metrical harmony could suggest that while outward forces may affect the course of any romantic relationship, the essence of true love, as represented by the stable meter, will always remain. So this would affirm that standard reading of the sonnet that we mentioned at the start of this video. But once we get into the weeds, we see that there really might be more than meets the eye. And that leads us to my second point. In lines 3 to 4 of the poem, there are two examples of Anthimeria, which is the technique of repeating a word but in its different parts of speech. For example, shifting from the word's noun to its verb form. And so those examples are alters when alteration finds and bends with the remover to remove, right? Alters, alteration, remover, remove. So the speaker here is saying that if someone is truly in love, they will be loyal despite the appearance of a new, more attractive person or any sort of new circumstance that might threaten the relationship. But in the linguistic shift from alters, which is a verb, to alteration, a noun, and from remover, which is the noun, to remove, the verb, we see actually a change taking place right in front of our eyes, which may hint that change, whether one wishes it to happen or not, will inevitably take place in any relationship. So in this linguistic shift from noun to verb forms and vice versa, we can also glean the idea of love being not the static state, but a fluid process that moves from moments of feeling to instances of doing. By the way, guys, if you find this video helpful so far, I'd massively appreciate it if you could hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any of my top grade lit study content going forward. I'd also encourage you to check out my membership program by clicking the join button below if you want exclusive access to members only study content and make special video requests. I'll see you there. That's why they always say love is a verb, love is action. It always continues and is in flux. Now, as we move on to looking at the rhyme of the sonnet, we'll see that it suggests a similar tension about the nature of love. Note that the end rhymes of love, remove, come, doom, and even the final couplet, proved, loved, are either I rhymes or half rhymes that don't actually sound all that similar. Now, what this suggests could be that in the course of love, there will be moments when two people diverge, change, and fall out of sync with each other. And indeed, the fact that this sonnet ends with a rhyming couplet, which doesn't really rhyme, at least sonically doesn't, could also point to a reading that conflicts with the more obvious one that we had mentioned at the start, i.e. the final sonic misalignment of proved, loved, proves that really this be error, this referring to the sonnet, and as a broken sonnet with its missing rhyming couplet that technically doesn't belong to the sonnet sequence because it's not actually technically a Shakespearean sonnet and is thus never writ. So in a way, we see the speaker saying, whatever I've said for the first 12 lines, perhaps they could all be void. Now, what do you think? I'd love to hear your views on this sonnet because it's quite a cryptic one, despite what it may suggest on the surface. But in any case, that's it for my quick analysis of this sonnet, and I hope you found the walkthrough insightful or refreshing in any way. Perhaps particularly in terms of helping us look at how we can create meaning from any sort of tension between what's being presented and how it's being presented. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the point is never really the interpretation that I give you, but in the approach that you can adopt to come up with your own better interpretation. So for the next video, I recommend that you watch my analysis of Shakespeare Sonnet 18 if you haven't already, or my other sonnet analysis videos coming up, which you can check out here. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button below so that you can encourage me to keep making these useful lit study videos for you and other passionate lit learners all around the world. Otherwise, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so you never miss out on my weekly study videos. And you can also consider joining my membership program if you want exclusive members-only content and to make special video requests. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!